So before we take a look at the race, let's just review the field for our own edification, and you see where the post positions are. Perhaps I know sometimes after you watch a race, you can forget them a little bit. So I thought this might be a good refresher, and you also see the morning line odds. Now let's take a look at the race. So we do want to note in the race that Time for Truth did scratch out beforehand. So we had a field of 12 and pretty good beginning. And you see, Woodcourt was a little unusual to see him be quite so keen, but Carbone on the rail got the lead. Northern Flame attending and putting some pressure on. And you see Timberlake's in the pocket, just sitting chilly off of them. And Just Steel, as we sort of expected, the post was a bit of a problem for him. He got carried out pretty wide, and I think that did impact how he ran in the race to a degree. Plus, he hasn't had a break in 9 starts. That has something to do with it, too. I'm sorry, but it's true. Domatic, you see him right in about mid-pack, and pretty interesting. Common Defense, a typical Kenny McPeak, bad race, come back when you don't expect it, they run a good race. And Common Defense ran a really nice one. We thought he was going to run it in the Southwest, but he didn't. But he almost pulled it off here. He had a nice race. Next Level, we were dead wrong about him. He just didn't want to run today. You see him lingering way at the back, and Tejon Pass out of it pretty quickly. But here comes Just Steel and Timberlake.
Turning up the pressure. Woodcourt is 3 wide. There goes Timberlake and the Windstar White. He's caught about 4 wide off the turn. Just Steel going to be deep at the top of the lane. He's 5 wide off the turn.
And you see Timberlake, he swung out, got to where he wanted to, lost a little ground there, but plenty of horse.
To the front. Common Defense trying to pull off.
Now, the only thing I'd say about this, I wanted him to draw off a little more decisively. But let's remember, it was off a layoff, and he did win, and he did display good 2-turn form. So I considered it to be a positive effort on Timberlake's part for sure. So let's take a look at how we grade him out after this one. All right, so if we look at how these horses performed, I'm giving Carbone a D because he's just not a 2-turn horse. I mean, that's the 3rd straight. The last 2, he's attended the pace, hasn't had anything in the tank left. You just have to believe as a Matoli, he's maybe more of a miler or a sprinter. So, good horse. I think he'll be better later in the year when he cuts back to sprints. But for now, he's off the Derby trail, I would hope. Northern Flame, I'll give a C+ because I think he ran his race. He just wasn't good enough. Would have liked to seen a little bit more out of him. But maybe he's just a cut below. I mean, that really probably is more to it than anything else. Common Defense ran a really nice race, but let's remember, he did save all the ground on the rail, and he did look a little keen to get going there. So I don't know. He was just wound up. This was the race I thought he was going to run in the Southwest Stakes. I thought he was coming into that race in good form. I think this one has potential. I was ready to write him off after the Southwest, but coming back and running like he does, typical Kenny McPeak, laying back and then coming with a run late. He could make some noise in the Arkansas Derby, I think. And he looks like he's one that maybe has a little bit more in the tank, certainly bred for the distance. So he's one I think I'll give him an A because I think he ran an excellent race. Tejon Pass obviously fell right back. He gets a complete F. Magic Grant gets a D- just because he ran the way we expected. But he shouldn't be on the trail anymore, I don't think. I like Domatic's effort first time in a graded stakes. This wasn't a high-quality field, but he competed, and I like that. And I think he flattened out a little bit in the stretch, but he did keep running. And maybe there's some more to him than that. He's another one who's bred for 2 turns, and I'm not going to throw him out yet. We can use this one as a learning experience, get some seasoning, and I'm willing to give him a shot again in the Arkansas Derby. I think he'll build off it. Asmussen's usually do. Timberlake gets an A-, only because he did what he was supposed to do coming off the bench. He ran his race. But I would have, it wasn't the greatest field. I would have liked to have seen him draw off with a little more authority than he did, but that's kind of nitpicking. I think the objective was to win the race coming off the bench. He's probably not tuned up all the way. You've heard me say that a bunch of times, but on the Derby Trail, you have to take that into consideration. I think the Derby is the end goal. He'll be, I think, run a better race or be a little more fit for the Arkansas Derby. All systems a go. So Timberlake, one to consider for sure. I don't know what happened with Next Level. I really don't. It's funny that Woodcourt, I thought, would be the one of the two who ran in the race prior, would be the one who wouldn't come up with it because he saved all the ground on the rail, and Next Level got caught way wide and still had run in the end. Maybe that was maybe he bounced off of it. I don't know, but he just didn't want to run. So I don't know what to do with him. We'll see how he rebounds. I didn't think Laganos ran a bad race coming off the bench, and I think he's eligible to improve. I'm not ready to throw him out completely yet. I think Mena is kind of came back down to earth, and I didn't like what I saw from him, and so I think he's a toss in the future. Just Steele needs a race off. That's the bottom line. He got carried wide for the second race in a row. He was in the 11 hole for the Southwest, and obviously he ran a much better race there. But he was also fresher, and I think this was the race that they probably should have sat him. I'm not one to question the coach, but we all know he runs his horses a little too much. He just squeezes that lemon. I mean, I don't know why. The horse is probably going to get in the Derby. He's got enough points built up, particularly with all the Bafferts being out. You don't have to have a whole lot of points to get in. And so, to me, I would have saved this one and waited for the Arkansas Derby. I thought the fact that he was carried wide, he did run a serviceable race, certainly one, they can build off of. But he needs a break. That's the bottom line, and that's the way I feel about it. Woodcourt, I thought, attended the pace. He looked wound up, ready to roll, and maybe there's some more to be had with him. I thought he actually ran a hell of a good race coming from the 12 hole, attending the pace, and he still seemed to have a little bit more left. So Woodcourt, maybe one we can think about for the future. But in sum, the horses that I think we take out of this that we want to see is certainly Timberlake, Dymatic, maybe Laganos, Just Steele. I don't know. I think he needed a break, and now he's not going to get one going all the way to the Derby. So I don't know about him. And then maybe Woodcourt because he did. He ran a little bit higher than expectations. So Timberlake definitely moves up on the Derby list, which we'll have a posting for. And I think he did what he was supposed to do in this race, and that has to be considered a positive.